Hey there, welcome everyone to another live Watch Soup Sunday. We're back on Sundays,
Back.
Clayton.
We're back on track.
We're back on track, man, for sure. Hey, man. So how you been? I look. I don't know if you caught the Super Bowl. Did you catch the Super Bowl, or were you just
Yeah,
like,
I did.
nah?
I did watch it. I did
Yeah.
watch it. Yeah, I actually fell asleep for a portion of it, and I woke up right before overtime. So I woke up just
Okay.
in time. I woke
Yeah.
up like during the last minutes of regulation, and then yeah, so it was good. I missed the halftime show, which I hear was okay. My wife enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was exciting.
Mm.
I don't know, who were you pulling for? I guess I was pulling for the Chiefs just because of what happened with the Niners and Lions.
Yeah. I think we ended up pulling for like San Fran. I think my wife kind of was like, she convinced me. Like she was like sick of seeing the Chiefs. Like she was still upset from the year before when the Chiefs beat the Eagles, right?
Mm,
So
mm.
she was like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this Chiefs team. You know what I mean? I'm rooting for San Fran. I'm like, okay. I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I'm because I didn't care who. I really didn't care who's gonna win at this point, right?
Right.
And but we ended up catching like the second half of the game, most of the second half after the kids went to bed, and then that overtime. And man, it's just amazing. It's just amazing how great players they finished the game, man. You know what I mean? And that was a great ending towards it. Hey, what do you got on wrist today, man?
I should have taken it off. I've been wearing the Air King. Haven't been wearing it a lot
Oh,
recently, so
okay,
been
yeah,
wearing
yeah,
it a
great
lot
watch.
this week. Yeah, it's so comfortable.
Hmm.
I'll get away from it for a while and then
Yeah,
I start wearing it and I don't want to take it off. So yeah,
yeah.
been wearing it the bulk of this week. I've been mixing in the Citizen a little bit.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Hey, I got the new to the collection. Man, this Nomos Campus
Oh,
Club 38 manual
yeah,
wine with
very
daisy.
nice.
Yeah, very,
Saw
very
you
cool. This
released a video on that today.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No AR coding. That's my only beef with it
Mhm.
right now. But other than that, it's just a fun watch, man. It brings me back to graduating college, right? Because that's what everybody says. It's a
Yeah.
perfect graduation watch, you know. Yeah, it brings me back to almost 30 years, almost 30 years, 2027 to be exact. I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, so that's when you graduate from college, 97?
96,
Okay,
96. Yeah, yeah,
97,
yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah. Yeah.
okay. I
So,
graduated from high school in 97, so
oh,
we're
thanks.
getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, you
yeah.
got a
Thanks,
few
man.
years on me.
Yeah, I got a few years on you. Hey, you know what? One thing before we say hello to the chat, we have a little surprise to you, Clayton. We have a
Oh.
sponsor, Almond Cell Straps,
Oh,
sponsoring another episode,
alright.
episode this week. Hey, at Almond Cell Straps, our straps are almost as good as Bark and Jacks. And coincidentally, if you want to get 72% off your next purchase over at Almond Cell Straps, coincidentally, the hashtag you got to put is our straps are almost as good as Bark and Jacks. So if you're able to get that all in there, you can get 72% off your next purchase at Almond Cell Straps. Anyway, let's say hello to the chat while we're at it before we start with the soup. Hey, Bill K is here. How you doing, Bill K? May Zone is here. Good to see you, May Zone. Underachieving watch collector, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. Kent Spear, all the way from Pittsburgh. Hey, Wayman is here. Good to see you, Wayman. KR Joy, what's up, man? Good to see you. Maison, he's wearing his good old 50 fathoms and staying up late to watch us. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you,
Uh,
sir.
Caliber is here. How you doing, Caliber? That's a long ass shot. Absolutely. Well, hey, it's worth it for 72% off. Hey, what's up, Hobby Bobby? Sup, Soup? What's going on, Hobby Bobby? Good to see you. Well, we let's get started with the soup. We're only doing 2 episodes this evening. So it's going to be a short service here, and the first video will be the one I picked. 5 Gear. Why I left my beloved mechanical watches on Garmin. Now, 5 Gear was one of the first channels that I started following when I got into like YouTube and practically like like going down the YouTube rabbit hole. Anyway, he does occasionally some watch reviews, or used to anyway, but it's more like EDC kind of stuff, and so I like the way he did his reviews back in the day. He kind of goes in and out of like creating content, and it seems like it's not as much in the last couple of years as it was a few years ago. But anyway, he gets into it here, talking about how, and his name is Andrew, by the way. For more than a year, he stepped away from wearing mechanical watches and he switched over to the Garmin smartwatch. A Garmin, I think, is a brand that you've worn, right? Or you
I
wear?
wear that
Yeah.
same the orange version of that same exact watch on my right all the time, never really ever take it off.
Oh,
So,
great! So this is
yep,
this is
yep,
perfect.
yep,
I'm excited to hear your take on this.
yep.
So there's there's three. He's come up with like three. He divided his video into three chapters and three reasons why basically why he's moved away from mechanical watches in the last year and towards this Garmin watch. And first, uh, Garmin watch focused here. The first point is the surface. There's a surface consumer level attraction that he has towards the Garmin. He loves the fitness tracker, and knowing the heart rate is very very important to him. He says is beneficial for his line of work. I'm not sure what line of work he does. I don't know if you know Clayton or not, but he
Nope.
says it's beneficial for him. He enjoys the sleep tracking feature. Uh, Talking about the strap, he loves the straps. When he says one of the best like rubber straps
Oh
he's
yeah.
ever had on the watch. Um, he likes the feature of the body battery, and it kind of gives him an overall reading of how physical well-being, and the tracking feature for the sports activities for GPS, so you can get more information on his activities, as well as that again with that tracking feature, he get a track back feature where he can trace the origin of his activity. So he does a lot
Mhm.
of hunting, a lot of hiking, and sometimes with the hunting, maybe he has to like leave where he's hunting and come back, and he's able to trace back the location. So a lot of functionality on that watch. He also talked about how he liked it has like 25 days of power. But if you're on the sun, it's you constantly that's not an issue, right? I mean, you're always going to have because I presume it's solar powered. So then now he starts going to the reasons why he moved away from mechanical watches. Anyway, on a personal level, he uh, but while he was discussing this, he showed his signature watch, which is the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical. I remember, he's done many, several discussions and a review on this watch. It's his kind of like he said, it's his signature piece. When I think about his channel, I think and the watches he's worn, I think about that Khaki Field Mechanical, and he's had it for like over 15 years, and he just had a service for the third time. So he wasn't really excited about like having to pay $200 or $300 to get its service, and he finds it frustrating, as part of the reasons why he's moving away from mechanical watches. He finds it frustrating of the maintenance of having a watch collection, right? He has several watches, and some of them don't require right now any maintenance, like the Seiko that he showed. But having thought about it, some of these watches, they're mechanical watches, and if you hold on to them a while, you're going to have to get maintenance. Um, he also is a little bit disgruntled about, I think, the watch YouTube community, right? He feels that there's a conflict of interest there. He says the watch hobby says they often frame it on YouTube as an enthusiast hobby, but the truth is it's a big business, right? A lot of these YouTube content creators are peddling watches in their reviews, right? And so we've definitely seen that before, right?
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and then he goes into the uncertainty of watch values, specifically watches over 3K, the financial risk. Says that he can at least he can now like appreciate horology. I mean, he loves all these pieces because his tastes have gone expensive, but he can appreciate them by just looking at them, right? He doesn't have to own them. So it's their point then. He's come to like a philosophical or Zen kind of moment, and he told the story about how he traded one of his cars. I think he had a Le Mans, and he traded for a Dodge Challenger for like it was an equal trade price wise, a car that he always wanted, and he got a comment. I guess he did a video on it, and someone made the comment that he didn't seem like the kind of guy who'd be into a car like that, and that really rubbed him the wrong way, right? And he said he had some similar experiences with the watches that he has, and he doesn't want he doesn't want a watch to reflect his identity. He feels like, character reflects your identity, and all that kind of stuff. So he's just a little bit turned off by that. When I saw this come up as I was scrolling, I thought of you when, at least for the Garmin aspect of the watch, and knowing that you have, collected a lot of mechanical or automatic watches, in the past, and your collection swells, you're contracting now a little bit. What did you think about the video, and specifically, like, I mean, I know you love the Garmin. You could please share about that, but then, like, some of the reasons why I mean, like, do you find any kind of, like, identification with some of the reasons why he has left his mechanical watches to the side and chose the Garmin?
Okay, we'll start. So this is the first I've ever heard of this channel.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting entry point. Starting with a guy who has seemingly had a channel for a long time, who was at one point into mechanical watches, who is now feeling like he's not anymore. So it was an interesting place to kind of get started with his videos, and I look
Hmm.
forward to kind of going back and maybe seeing what he was about a little bit, like maybe with that Hamilton, watch some videos on that and everything. Um, but yeah, so I had an interesting relationship with Garmin. I've been a runner for 20 years, like running marathons and stuff. So Garmin's were always a part of that. I still, my ancient Forerunner that I had when I first started in '05, '06, I still have, and it still
Hmm.
works. So at a certain point, I went to the Garmin Phoenix, which is one of their higher end models, does everything. And I wore that as my only watch. Um, Getting kind of bogged down with all of the smartwatch functions actually got me into uh, mechanical watches.
Interesting.
I had heard of being from Michigan. I remember that my cousin liked Shinola, so I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a real watch. I'm gonna get a Shinola." And then I really put Garmin off to the side. Whenever I ran races, I actually used my old Forerunner. I sold that Phoenix. I barely. I was like, "Ah," I was just tuned out on Garmin, and then I kind of got back into them. And now, like, it works for me to. I have the Instinct 2X Solar, so a version. I think he maybe has the older Instinct. I'm not positive if he has the. He must have the solar one, right? Didn't he say that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, this is an awesome watch. It's light. It's very like G-Shock esque. But it's still has all the functions I like for racing. I do pay attention to that body battery stuff somewhat, but mostly I just like to track my steps. Sleep is something. I had a fitness tracker, like a smaller profile, but I just like the watch. So it's not the most comfortable thing to sleep in, but it is valuable information just to look at what your
Hmm.
sleep score is. It gives you very detailed how much REM sleep you had.
Hmm.
Was it interrupted? Light sleep. It gives you probably. I use like 5% of the functions of this watch. There's a lot, but so I wear this on the right always, and then a automatic or mechanical watch on the left. I don't care if I look like a doofus. I'm a 45-year-old guy. No one cares what I'm doing anyway. My wife will occasionally, "Why are you wearing two watches?" But other than that, so I have found a way to where I got away from Garmin completely after getting into G-Shocks especially, and mechanical watches too. I found like a happy medium with where I need both. I like to have
Hmm.
both. I don't need both, but I like to wear both. And I don't even think of this as a watch. It's more of like a fitness tool. I think, and I think we're all a little famous for overthinking, overanalyzing the watch hobby, but I think he's maybe overthinking it a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it's his. If this is what he wants to do, we all have our reasons for
Hmm.
doing things, and maybe it's just like a phase too. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll do that for a while, and then there'll be a spark where he goes back to mechanical watches. But no, Garmin. Just getting back to Garmin, I think they're awesome. And you can we were just talking to somebody who's looking to get into a Garmin. I mean, gosh, you can spend a little. or you can spend a lot depending. I mean,
Yeah.
they have luxury. They have like a luxury line. They just made like a carbon fiber version of their Mark series, which is like $3,000. Do you want to spend that on a a fitness smartwatch? It doesn't really do much different than like a Phoenix or even this does, but it's made of the you're paying for the materials. So I mean, yeah, you can do it how you want. I know a lot of people who double fist with
Yeah.
some enthusiasts are dead set against it and only want to wear mechanical. Some don't mind wearing both. I don't
Yeah.
see them as really competing with each other.
Yeah.
I will be honest. I probably reference my Garmin for a quick glance at the time more than my traditional watch. Like I'm guilty of
Hmm.
that, but I like to wear both. My appreciation for mechanical watches is why I'm
Hmm.
wearing the other one. I think a little bit more, just like because I appreciate that side of it, but also it's pure function. The Garmin.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you when I think he's overthinking. This may be a phase kind of thing.
Yeah.
I go through that as well. Sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, what am I doing here with all these watches? Like, it just makes no sense. This is
Right.
so silly, right? And then I go through phases where, like, I go through a couple days where I'm just not wearing watches. I just don't want to go for a watch. And then I think to myself, you know what? I have a G-Shock that's perfectly fine. It tells time great. Like, why can't I just be into that or happy about that? Well, because you know what? Because I like watches, and it's not
Right.
going to be all walks on the beach and teddy bears and stuff like that, right? It's going to be it's like any kind of other thing. Like you go in and out of fancy with it. Look, I think if look, I don't know this guy. I don't know Andrew. Okay, and part of this show, right, is we talk about the content, and then we relate to whatever is said with stuff that we've experienced, right? Sometimes we get a little critical, but I mean that's the premise of the show. We're kind of like dissecting stuff
Right.
here, right? And so, like, I feel like, again, I don't know him, um, but I feel like he's trying to find excuses not to wear mechanical watches,
That's
right?
what I thought too.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Yeah.
first of all, like bringing up the YouTube conflict of interest with the creators. Okay, fine. Just stop watching watch content. I mean, that's easy. I feel the same way most of the time when I see some of the content creators that I know that are getting watches in. Um, and it's a review, and I know that, and they disclose that this is a paid review. Um, Sometimes I just don't watch what they have to say,
Yeah.
about it. Okay,
Right.
or I do, and I get it, right. I move on from
Right.
that thought. I don't get hung up on that. The servicing costs, yeah, I mean that's a byproduct of having a collection. I get the concern with that. I don't really have much experience with it because I'm in and out of watches. But somebody who keeps their watches long term, yeah, that can be an issue. Sure, I think with modern watches, right? Modern watches that are really built, well, with the quality, like they probably don't need as much of a service intervals as maybe watches from like 20, 30 years ago, right? So I think if you like something, and you just have to, if you like a watch, you have to consider that, and then maybe consider that it's not as bad as you think it is, right?
Yeah.
um the whole the uncertainty with watch values, man. So I just don't get why he threw that in there.
I don't. Yeah. I
Do
also
you-
wrote that down.
yeah, I just like, that just seems like, you know that's why you're going to the Garmin, because of,
Yeah.
like, the financial risk, or what. Don't. I mean, I know he says he likes some of these, like, more pricier pieces, right? I mean, his tastes have gone up. But man, if you're thinking that way, then don't, yeah, don't buy, don't get into it, right? You know what I mean? Watch from afar, right? You don't have to stop wearing your mechanical watches that you have already, because of the financial risk of potentially buying a watch over 3K, which you're not doing.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, like if he had if he did a video of like, 3 reasons why um I'm disgruntled about watch collecting on YouTube. Yeah, okay, these make sense, but it's not those reasons. I don't think are making him just wear the Garmin. So, um,
There's more to it. He was I don't know, yeah, I didn't really get I wasn't sure the point of the video. Was he, like, trying to convince us to think a certain way or trying to make us believe why he's just wearing the Garmin? Yeah, it was and not knowing anything about him really,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it made me wonder, like, how into watches was this guy ever? Like, was he
yeah,
ever, like, why did he get into mechanical watches? Because I get the feeling that
yeah,
he's more excited about the Garmin, which is fine.
which is fine. Right,
Yeah,
right.
totally fine. And the YouTube thing, I mean, gosh, you and I would be out of the hobby a long time ago if we let that bother us, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know how it works.
But even that wouldn't affect the way I collect
Right, right.
or turn me off from mechanical watches. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So,
You can
yeah.
control how you let something affect you or
Mhm,
not affect you, right? Like,
mhm.
somebody's opinion like, if somebody just said, "I hate all your watches," I'd be like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
really affect my, enjoyment of them or whatever. So, yeah, I don't
mhm,
know, but
yeah,
we're all hey, I mean, I'm neurotic about a lot of things in
yeah.
this hobby that most people would be like, "Why do you let that bother you so
Yeah,
much?"
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
the part of it though, Clayton, it could be, the difference between us and Andrew is that, and I don't know, like, what kind of community groups, in regards to collection he's involved, but we're involved with some watch collecting groups, right? And are in contact with our watch friends almost on a daily basis. So and collecting and meeting up and going to these. So maybe we're a little desensitized, right? Of certain things, right? I mean,
right.
because obviously maybe at one point 10 years ago spending $500 on a watch was insane, but now it's like, oh yeah, like
Yeah.
like we're so desensitized towards price, and so desensitized about, like, like holding on to watches, right? Desensitized about any kind of critique somebody can makes.
Oh, yeah, I
uh
expect a smart ass comment when I
yeah, so
say
so
something, so
right. So maybe maybe we're obviously not looking at in the same
right,
lens as he's looking at. But this is what we do here, right? So, and one last thing I just want to touch about, is the identity thing. He doesn't want people to make assumptions about him because of the watch he wears. And I think sometimes that's a legitimate comment.
right.
Again, that wouldn't stop me from wearing mechanical watches.
Would it stop
Yeah,
you from wearing, like, a certain brand, though?
could
Like,
it could.
because if somebody spots you wearing a Rolex like, I refrain from posting my watches on, like, my personal
Mhm.
Facebook page.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'll go in the groups as myself, but I don't
Yeah,
really ever post
yeah.
because I don't know, that it does say, even though, like, I don't think I buy expensive watches for that reason.
Mhm.
It opens it up to interpretation to other people, and I just don't feel like dealing with it.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
absolutely. I over the last, like, year or two, I've become more self I don't know, it's not really self-aware. I become more I'm trying to find the right word. Anyway, I I around family and people that I know,
yeah,
who are not into watches at all, I stopped wearing the Rolex. I did. I totally stopped because, you know, uh, maybe it's all in my head, but I felt like there was like a judgment. Oh my God,
mhm,
that guy's wearing a $10,000 watch. You know what I mean?
right,
And around you guys, I mean, that's
yeah,
I get that. I don't get that feeling, but around people who are not initiated to our hobby, I th- I sense that I don't know if it's resentment on their part, Um, but maybe it's judgment, or maybe I'm just making it up in my head. But anyway, whatever it was, it made me feel uncomfortable, and I stopped doing it completely. Now, most of the time when I am around family, most of my watches now are not at that level. But so it's not an issue. But I'll also wear G-Shocks. I also wear
I
G-Shocks too.
feel more comfortable wearing the Moser around, like, people I know because it's doesn't even have anything on the
Sure.
dial, so
Yeah, yeah,
and
I
it
get that.
doesn't, like,
Yeah,
inherently look, um I mean, it's nice, but it
yeah.
doesn't scream, as much as it costs.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so
That I would have no qualms wearing a Moser around anybody around.
right,
You know what I mean? Whether they're in a hobby or not. Something like Rolex, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hey, let's see what the chat has to say. Pale Horse is here. Hey, doing Pale Horse? Rick is. I own a Garmin golf and running watches. They are good at what they are intended for, but don't replace mechanical watches for
Right.
sure. He's on saying I went the other way around. I love technology, lusted after a smartwatch, though never got around to getting one. Then, when my long-term course died, I discovered modern mechanicals. Hey Nate, what's going on? Good to see you. Hans loves his Garmin, but they don't belong in the office or in a semi-formal dress attire. Still need
Yep.
a good watch for those occasions. That's agree. Yep. Thor is saying Garmin makes quality golf watch, but will not even replace the Mega Quartz in my collection. Um, Underachieving watch collector. Sounded like Andrew was justifying why he's getting out of the watch hobby. Uh, eh, yeah. SKX013 on the wrist for Pale Horse. What is everybody else wearing? Well, I'm wearing my Nomos and
I have my
Wayne
Air King.
Air King. Hey Steve, good to see you. Okay. Hey, let's move
Alright.
on. And we have your video is a fun video, actually. Jenni Elle,
Yeah.
Rolex lovers have no clue about watches, reacting to community. I think it was like a reaction video to like some comments that she's gotten over the
Yeah,
past
she
few days.
saw, like, a controversial truth post, that I think I saw a couple of these looked familiar to me, so I don't know where she pulled these from. I don't know that she said, but she took, like, the best ones. Yeah, I'm not, like, a huge, I'm not a regular watcher of her stuff, but
Hmm.
I this one came up. I like hot take stuff. I'm a
Yeah.
sucker for it. So, anyway, they went over a few, and, her and her husband Kai were in this video. He is a, mostly German-speaking YouTuber, I think. His
Okay.
channel, um, I don't know if you're familiar with that. Yeah, he does some questionable like courses on how to get a Rolex at retail, like
Okay.
proper etiquette. Like it's a little, yeah, he's a little, but anyway, in this video, it's fine. So they went over some. I skipped a few of these that I just didn't think were all that important because, and there's
Yeah.
also a lot of them too, like 12. So I
Yeah.
cut a few out. But the first one, the first hot take that was typed up on this social media site was James Bond wore Rolex. Omega's relationship with the franchise is lame because it's just product placement. And, Jenny kind of agrees. She doesn't sound like they're big Omega fans.
Yeah.
She doesn't mind product placement, but in this case, she does not think it works. Kai kind of on the same page with her. Ian Fleming's Bond wore Rolex. And Omega kind of bought the spot, right? It was
Yeah.
opportunistic. I don't know if that's quite fair because
Yeah.
Bond has worn other watches in the movies. He's worn Seiko. I mean,
Yeah.
in the first movie, a Gruen uh,
Yeah.
Precision. So I mean, it's not like Omega's the only alternative. He's worn many other brands besides Rolex. But yeah, what do you think about that? Is it just product placement or is Omega the true Bond watch?
Well, first of all, it sounds like they have well, obviously they have a bias against Omega. So, like,
They're big
that,
Rolex
yeah,
fanboys
yeah. And I think
and
you could be
girls.
Rolex and Omega fanboys at the
Right.
same time.
They do
You
not
know,
like Omega.
yeah, look, I mean, I have no problem with the relationship with Omega and James Bond or any other watch. It doesn't really make that big of a difference to me. I think it's kind of cool, when he says Omega. know, and
I'm with you.
in the booth, you know. So I don't have a problem. I mean, is it the James Bond watch? I mean, like that seriously doesn't really like it's not a blip of my like I don't lose sleep over that. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
think it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool. I happen to like some of these Bond Seamasters that have come out in the last couple of years. I like them. I like them. So you know, I got no issue with it. How about you?
Uh, Not really. I mean,
Yeah.
gosh, deep down, I know that he wore the Submariner originally, but when somebody says Bond watch, I
Mhm.
immediately go to that quartz Brosnan
Yeah.
Seamaster,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I
yeah,
think of. So the
yeah.
product placement worked,
Yeah. I mean,
if that's what it is.
yeah, you know, product placement. I mean, like, you know, it's all over. It's part of what, you know, it's part of TV. It's part of movies. It is what it is. You know, I
Yep.
can't remember. I'm sure there's been egregious examples of product placement in movies and whatnot, and TV shows. But you know, I have no problem with the whole concept of it. No problem with the James Bond Omega relationship at all. So it's a nothing burger for me.
Now, some of the special editions have been a little cheesy, a little hokey with like the counterbalance on the seconds hand of one of them, like
Yeah, the
double oh
007 on it.
007. Yeah,
Yeah,
like that's I had the No Time to Die for a while. I thought that was really well done and
yeah,
a
that's a great
really great
watch.
watch.
Yeah,
So yeah, but yeah, some of those not so much.
yeah,
But
yeah. And then, you know, not all of them are going to be gems, but you
right.
know, at the end of the day, no, I got no problem.
Yeah, right. I agree. Um, next, somebody posted scratches don't give a watch character. You're just being too lazy to maintain your stuff.
Mm,
Jenny, they kind of sound like they're on the same page with this. She thinks it's bad to be overly reckless with your watches. The ultimate sign of respect is to, take care of your watches, right? Love and respect is to care, not scratch them up. Um, Kai thinks scratches should have a good story. If your watch is all scratched up just because 'cause you're at your desk, on your computer, maybe that's not so good.
yeah,
Um, I like scratches. I think
yeah,
I'm actually the opposite. I think it's the ultimate sign of respect to a watchmaker to wear it as intended. If I'm
yeah,
a watchmaker and I
mm,
see one of my watches out in the wild, I wanna see that thing beat to hell because I know you're wearing it. You're not
yeah,
afraid to wear it. Like,
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
ultimate sign of respect. I know everybody's different, but if I don't know, if I was a watchmaker and saw one of my watches out in the wild and somebody put tape on the clasp and the bracelet, the scratch, I'd be like, oh, come on. Or still left the stickers on or something. Be like, wear it. I made this. I designed this so you
yeah,
could wear it and
yeah,
beat the ever loving crap out of it and it would survive. Like, so do it, use it. But I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
know I'm in the minority with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think again, I think this is like, you know, somebody just I don't know. You wear your watch. If you get a scratch on it, I mean, it doesn't mean that you are disrespecting the watch. I mean, like,
Right.
come on. I mean, nothing lasts forever. You know, nothing. I mean, like, then just don't buy a watch if you're worried about something like that, right?
Yeah.
Then don't buy a watch that scratches. Buy a Zen, buy a Tabasco. Um, you know, I am clumsy, right? My arms, I'm like a muppet. My arms are flailing all over the place. I hit into doorways all the time, and most of the time, like, you know, the watch is safe, but every once in a while, like, I'll get that ding on it, and I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm not. Look, I'm not like running it. I'm not sticking my hand with the Nomos in like my mower, right? And trying to get like, you know, like a work on removing the belt on the mower, right? I'm not doing
Right.
that, you know. That's why I have a G-Shock for. But, you know, like if it gets scratched or dinged up, like, Jesus Christ, I mean, like, disrespectful. That's not disrespectful. Come on,
I
it's
think
ridiculous.
everybody's so worried about, especially enthusiasts, we're really concerned about resale a lot of the
Yeah,
time because
yeah. That's the only
that's
reason
just
why
the
you'd worry
nature.
about it.
Right, right. And some people just don't like it, and that's fine. That's people don't like looking down at like a Santos
Yeah,
that picks up scratch that bezel picks up scratches so easily. And so people don't like the way, and that's fine. But yeah, I'm just happen to be someone who I don't want to be burdened with, because it takes the enjoyment away from wearing the watch if I'm constantly like,
I think
you know,
so.
shielding it. Now, I reckless for me personally would be wearing my nice watches to work. I don't do that. I have
Yeah,
my
yeah.
like set of beater watches that I wear to work, but anything else, I'll wear my nice watches for. Like, as soon as I get home and go out into the woods with my dogs, I'll put my Rolex or Moser on or whatever. Because the Moser even has a really robust movement that can. It's the shockproof movement they put in
Hmm.
their sport watches. That's in
Yep.
the one I have. So,
Yeah.
while it doesn't look like it can take it, it can. So
Yeah.
I'm not really afraid to wear it in that setting. So
Yeah, how you always saying I wear all my watches, but have enough awareness not to mess them up. I just
right.
take care of 'em. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm almost there. I mean, like again, like I just can't help like sometimes I just knock into things, but I'm mostly there. I also wipe my soles down with shoe wipes when I get there. Okay, yeah, well, yeah.
I think, obsessively wiping my Moser put some hairline scratches on it actually, because
Oh,
when I first got it, I was using the right cloths and everything, but I think maybe just doing it a little too much, like, there's some hairlines around the bezel. I was like, "Oh, I bet I did that from wiping it down
yeah.
every day." So that may have caused that. I was a little obsessive about that. The next one, don't buy a cheap watch that superficially looks like a higher end piece. Buy original watches from Seiko, Citizen, etc. Jenny said she does not mind homage watches, the good ones anyway.
Hmm.
Not the shitty, crappy ones. Um, she thinks Tudor and Tissot are well within their rights to do homages because they have a track record of
Yeah.
their own original designs. They've been
Hmm.
around forever. Um, Kai, he thinks the BB, the Tudor Black Bay
Hmm.
GMT, it has a similar Pepsi bezel, obviously, the
Yeah.
bezel, but or it's actually, is that a Coke bezel?
It was a Pepsi. It's a
Yeah,
Pepsi.
okay, that's a
Yeah.
Pepsi, okay, so, but, otherwise, it looks different than the GMT
Hmm.
Rolex GMT Pepsi. So he thinks that's okay, and obviously, they're connected. But
Hmm.
he hates the Zenith Chronomaster Sport. He just thinks that it's a complete Daytona ripoff. Jenny disagrees. She thinks they have the right to do that if they want to because they lent their El Primero movement to the Daytona for so long.
Yeah.
He has a problem with it because it's in the same price range, right? A lot of times it's okay. Like the Tudor
Yeah.
Black Bay is okay,
Yeah.
GMT is okay because it's not
Yeah.
in the same price range as the
Mm-hmm.
Rolex. So,
Hmm.
how do you
Hmm.
feel about this? I tend to agree that yeah, buy it. There's so many afford even if you
Yeah.
want something affordable because you can't afford a higher end. There's so many affordable watches with original designs.
Yeah, I've been trying to hone in how exactly I feel about this for a long, long time, and I think this particular discussion, this particular part of the video, kind of like it helped me get a little bit to there. I think I don't mind. I got to drill it down further. I don't mind homages in the spirit of like that Black Bay GMT, where there is definitely a nod, and we see the nod, especially because Rolex and Tudor are tied together. But there's enough of Tudor design in there that it makes it feel like a Tudor, but at the same time making that homage to the Pepsi. Um, the one for one, I think I'm not into at all. I think then at that point, I agree. There's so many watches. Get a Seiko, get a Citizen. There's so many other watches that you can do that. Go for and have like some sort of like kind of originality there for it. So I'm pretty much. This is the closest I got to like a full agreement with these guys. Um, I don't no, I see the likeness of the Zenith Chronomaster to the Daytona. I I don't know how I feel about that. I hear what Jenny says about if these brands have a history, they get a pass. I think I subconsciously give these brands a pass too because of the history. So I'm still even to this day. years after we've been having this discussion and having this discussion with all my watch friends, I'm still trying to formulate exactly how I feel about it, and it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, I don't think, like, Rolex has the, they're the only ones allowed to make a white dial chronograph with a black bezel,
Yeah,
like, you know, I
yeah,
hate that, like, that Longines, Hodinkee limited edition GMT that just came out that everybody said looked like the, um Tudor Black Bay Pro
hmm
or the
hmm
old, Explorer
hmm
2. It's like, geez, nobody else is allowed to do a black dial GMT watch with a steel bezel. Like, come on,
hmm
we can't. Like, Rolex doesn't have the moratorium on that. They,
yeah,
so yeah, I mean, I've seen the Zenith Chronomaster Sport. It's awesome. Um, sure, it looks, but it has some differences too. I mean, it's
yeah,
a white dial chronograph with a black tachometer bezel. So what the
yeah,
heck are you gonna do?
yeah.
Um, NATO straps are ugly was the next hot
Mm,
take. Kai agrees, thinks they make a watch look cheap. Jenny likes them. She thinks they look sporty.
mhm,
I think they look cool. I think they feel horrible. I
yeah.
hate the excess strap. I hate it. I don't like wearing them. The hole, your preferred hole, gets stretched out in like 3 days of wearing it, and the strap is essentially trash.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I don't know how you feel about them.
Yeah, I don't mind the way they look. I wish it would work for me in a sense that every time I've ever put a watch on a NATO, like within like a day or two, I got it back on strap.
Me
I
too.
don't hate them. There are so many cheap, badly made NATOs out there though, right?
Yeah.
And so those need to go, right? Those are the ugly ones. But then there's some nice quality NATOs out there, and when you get a nice look, good looking quality NATO, it looks good. It looks good. I wish I was a NATO guy. I wish I was a NATO guy. I'm just not a NATO guy. But I wouldn't just say like they're all ugly and they shouldn't exist or whatever. I think there is a purpose to them. I think some types of watches really fit that aesthetic. So especially those field watches, I think they look great on NATOs. Yeah, yeah. Some NATOs are better than others. I wish I was a NATO guy. I'm with you. I just can't. I can't wear them.
Yeah, I wish I could be because I do think they look pretty.
Yeah.
They do look pretty cool. The compromise I made with the obviously the FXD can only wear straps with the fixed bars. So that octopod, it has the look, but the excess strap, that like bulge, that's the thing that just bothers me. I just after a while, I just have to take them off. Like I'm with you. Like I'll do it for a day, like as something to change up. And
Yeah.
actually, I actually kind of like the cheaper NATOs because a lot of the
Mm.
expensive ones are slippery material, and
Mm,
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
don't
yeah.
like that. I don't
Good
like
point.
that. Like
Yeah,
I don't like the way that feels. And I
yeah.
could never wear when swimming, like Jenny said.
Mhm.
The feeling of like a wet NATO strap, ugh, gross. That would just kind of skeeve me out. Anyway, um, what's the next one I wrote here? Nobody would buy Rolex if it didn't say Rolex on the dial. Kai disagrees because people buy Rolex knockoffs all the time and they don't say Rolex on the dial. Uh, so,
Yeah, but they're also a lot less expensive than a Rolex,
right,
right?
right,
Like,
right, right, right. Right. So, what else did he say? They think people say this because they want to prove these people that say this want to prove that all people who buy Rolex are just superficial, only after status and
mm,
brand
mhm,
and marketing, falling prey to the
mhm.
marketing. That no watch enthusiasts actually wear Rolex. So they kind of, I guess they just think Rolex makes a solid watch. So, and
Yeah,
I know plenty of watch enthusiasts who like Rolex, and then I know people who just want one nice watch and chose Rolex,
yeah,
probably because of brand, and they,
yeah, yeah,
even, God bless my grandmother, she knew what a Rolex was.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
they're just they didn't like they said, they didn't get there
mhm,
on accident.
yeah. For me, I mean, it has to say Rolex on it. I mean, plain and
Right,
simple. I mean, I'm not gonna pretend like it doesn't matter, and of course it matters to me,
right.
right? And if it doesn't say Rolex, well, I better pay only like $20 for it. You know what I mean? Because like that's I don't understand Kai's argument there. But yeah, it has of course it has to say Rolex on it. Of
Yeah.
course. Great watches, great watches,
They
worth
make good
worth every.
watches.
I
Yeah.
think they're great. I think they're worth every penny that they are at MSRP. Um, they're built like a tank, and every Rolex I've ever worn has fit great on me, and I have no complaints.
Agree. I'm not attracted to now the would I get if my AD called me with a model that I wasn't into, would I say yes and spend thousands of dollars I don't necessarily want to spend just because it's a chance to get any Rolex? No, I don't think so. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
like that
No,
far gone.
I wouldn't do that now. No.
Like even like a GMT Master, which is just not a GMT fan.
Hmm.
I'd buy it for the wrong reasons, but then I would never want to sell it because I wouldn't want them to find out and
Yeah.
like damage my relationship with them.
Yeah.
So I think I would just say no.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, yeah. If it was like if they called me up and said like you want an OP, I would say no.
yeah, right.
If they called me up and said that you want any other watch, I'd probably say yeah, actually, because I like almost all the models. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, I've tried on the OP. It just doesn't. It feels a little cheap. Um, but everything else feels great. I would probably say yes to if I got a call. If I could afford it, you know what I mean.
Right,
Like if I
right, right,
can't
right.
afford it, if they're offering me like a gold like a full on gold root beer, I'm I love the watch, but I can't afford that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, like, I think it helps with me, like, I've owned the models I liked enough to buy in the
hmm
past, like the
yeah,
Explorer and then the Sub. So, yeah, I don't know, like, obviously sold the Sub, so if I got offered one, I think I'd just pass because
yeah, yeah.
I didn't ask for it. Now, like, maybe a Cermet, which is
Mm,
kinda a different take on it, but I'm just not I just know myself now that I'm just not a shiny ceramic dive bezel guy.
yeah,
So, I would just probably just say I would decline. I would never ask for one of those. Next one. You didn't hate quartz until somebody told you to. They agree with this. Jenny said that she had a swatch that she loved when she was young, wore it all the time. She didn't know was quartz was something she was supposed to despise as a watch enthusiast until she really went down the rabbit hole in the hobby. Um, she does not love that ladies' watches are often quartz that they just slap some diamonds on and charge the same price that they could like for that they would for a mechanical watch. Um, Kai thinks that this happens, the quartz hatred kind of happens. He's not justifying it, but he thinks the reason it happens is that, the more we learn about mechanical watches and how they work and how really truly amazing it is that our watches just get powered by a spring when we're moving our arms around and how
mm,
cool that is, that we sort of resent or despise the simplicity of a battery powered quartz. I'm a HAQ lover, high accuracy quartz lover, so I
mm,
just sometimes have to like step away from my phone or computer when I see the quartz hate online. um
yeah.
I
I
don't
hate
think
this
I
argument.
yeah, I don't think people understand why they're hating quartz.
Yeah,
Some YouTuber, so Archie Luxury or Bill Sanders told them that quartz is garbage, and they like, oh yeah, they think all quartz are created equal. Like they can't
yeah,
understand why you would pay more for a high accuracy quartz when you could just buy a $20. Well, they're vastly different. Just like Powermatic 80 and Omega Coaxial are different, right?
yeah. I mean,
Those are the differences.
yeah. I mean, like you don't have to choose one in lieu of the other.
Right.
It's so ridiculous to me. You know what I mean? You can they both can exist in parallel, right? In anyone's collection. They exist in parallel in my collection. I've had high accuracy quartz watches.
Yeah.
They were great. I've had mechanical watches that were high horology. They were great. They both can live in the same collection. They both have different purposes. I have my G Shocks, right? I go out and I mow the lawn. I chop wood with them on. You know what I mean? They have a purpose for me, and yeah, it's just I just never got that argument. It's just like it's like the most ridiculous argument in in the watch world today. I think that's at the top. It's just the worst
Yeah.
argument. I just tune out now when I hear stuff like that because it's just dumb. It's just dumb to have that argument. Sorry.
People will disregard like I actually saw that Citizen I own, somebody posted it on one of the Facebook groups and everybody was just slamming it. And
Yeah.
just like there's just I just said on there like it may not change your mind, but you should read about like why like I can't understand why this is so expensive. Well, read about it.
Yeah.
Learn
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
instead of just commenting.
Yeah.
Like it may not change your mind, but at least you'll learn something.
Yeah.
But people
Absolutely.
that they'd rather not learn why, they'd rather just troll.
Yeah.
Um, here we go. This one might be fun. Grand Seiko are devoid of any type of style or design and using electricity instead of mechanical regulation. You may as well just be wearing a quartz digital. And then there was another statement that said, "I hate Grand Seiko." They both disagree. You know, Spring Drive is it's literally making something more complicated than it needs to be, which they actually think is kind of cool. But then they kind of it almost sounds like they don't like Grand Seiko. Kai had a white birch. He got a good discount on it, 30% discount on the white birch. I thought, I don't know where he got that. That sounds
Mm,
pretty good to me. He thought the dial was incredible. Movement finishing was great. But the watch as a whole was quite underwhelming to him. He stopped wearing it for the most part, sold it. Doesn't seem like they're big Grand Seiko fans. The designs leave them cold. Both had issues with the bracelet, which it seems to be a common complaint with
yeah.
Grand Seiko.
Yeah.
How do you feel? I know we have a lot of Grand Seiko lovers who watch the show.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, and Grand Seiko gets a lot of heat and a lot of the streams that we're involved with, and this stream, mostly on the other stream on Tuesday nights. But I mean, like the Sriracha polishing, I mean, that is just a work of art. The dials are just beautiful. The polishing on the hands and the indices. Um, okay, so you don't like the bracelet. There's a lot of watches. There's a lot of brands who have like, bracelets that not everybody like. People are gonna pick on the bracelet. Whatever. To me, that's not the deal breaker. The bracelet's not the deal breaker on a watch. Whether it's a good, I could always put it on a strap, put it on rubber, could put it on a NATO, whatever. If you don't like the bracelet, that's fine. You can make it work some other way. But I don't. I'm not with these guys on this one. I think the Grand Seiko has got a very distinctive look, and they're beautifully made and well done. I mean, and for the price point on a lot of them, especially on the pre-owned market, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of the better buys if you feel like that original owner take a hit.
Yeah. Yeah, I disagree. I think they have a now, do I love all the, like, nature-inspired
Hmm.
reasons for their dial? Like we've joked, they must
Yeah,
have, 2,000 different seasons in Japan.
yeah,
That stuff, but yeah, I think they, definitely have their own I mean, the case, the 44 GS and all that, I mean, definitely distinctive to Grand Seiko. I am somebody who does let the bracelets probably affect me. Talk about overthinking. We talked about that earlier in the first video. I can't get them to work and it
yeah.
frustrates me. If I'm spending that much on a watch, like
Hmm.
I should be able to dial in the fit. Like it's not I don't feel like that's asking too much. And I just like the Citizen almost has the same exact clasp, but the links are shorter. So
Yeah,
I can dial that thing in. And I
yeah,
think even when the weather heats up and maybe my wrist swells, like, I'll still be fine.
yeah,
Uh, I just could never achieve that on Grand Seiko. It's really
yeah.
frustrating.
And I get that.
Yeah,
I totally get that. But there's other Grand Seikos out there that you can put on a strap, and it'd be great. I mean, like, and then you wouldn't think anything of it. You're like, oh,
right,
this watch
and
is
I did
beautiful.
that. I had to do
Yeah,
that with the Grand Seikos I've
yeah,
owned, but,
yeah.
I think that also prevented them from being keeper status, and I know
Mm,
that's
okay.
probably silly to a lot of people, but
No, no. I
it
mean, like,
worked for me.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay, next, and we're kind of finishing up. This is the last one I think I have actually. Filling your collection with numerous micro brands and homages while simultaneously coveting watches from higher brands shows lack of discipline and financial responsibility. You could have had that Speedmaster by now if you didn't choose to spend your money on filler watches. I think we've all probably been
Yep.
guilty of this.
Absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
read some of the funny comments on this
Yeah.
post.
Yeah.
A couple
Yeah.
people were like, "I
Yeah. Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you just described me."
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you may think they're harmless at the time, right? Like, what's a couple
Sure.
$100 here? What's a couple
Yeah.
$100 there? But one day you add them up in your watch box, you're like, "Holy smokes, I just spent $5,000 on all these watches," right? So, you know, a lot of us, Hamilton, Tissot, they make great watches, but yeah, if you really have a goal of buying, you know, an Omega Speedmaster someday, they ultimately hurt your bottom line when you're trying to do that. They take money
Absolutely.
out of the savings, right? And it's hard to be patient because we
Yep.
are in a lot of us are in these groups where people are buying watches daily, you know, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, and it gets contagious. Like, oh, I want a new watch, and
Hmm.
we watch videos. New watches are released, especially now. It seems like there's a new release daily that's tempting us, and we're weak. You know, we love watches and we want to buy new watches. So I get it. It's easy. I mean, gosh, the first 4
Guilty.
I'm only a new man within the last, like, 6 months. I've only bought, like, 3 watches in the last that's new for me.
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah.
new, and I'm not sure it'll stick. I'm sure hoping it
Yeah.
sticks. So
Yeah.
we all are guilty of this, and
Yep.
she talked about, yeah, if you would have just saved your money instead of buying all those mid-tier watches, you could have that Breitling Navitimer that you've been
Yeah.
saving. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's something I think we all and, they just kinda end on, like, I think being financially irresponsible is at the heart of this hobby.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Total identification on that one, for sure. Maybe not so much um, with micros, but like with like affordable Seikos, right? That kind of
Yeah.
stuff, you know.
I bought quite a few micros, early on, a few Zelos, like, I would be there
Yeah.
for that new Zelos drop,
Yeah.
try to
Drop. Yeah. Yep.
beat the bots from because they sell out, like, I think I
Yeah.
bought the first Islander mark ever released, I bought one. Um, yeah, so early on, I definitely I just bought a lot of I guess I'm glad I did that because I can it's funny, like, when people bring up certain watches, like, "Oh, yeah, I owned one," and I look back, I have the Amazon Photos app, and I can look back to I was like, "God, I've owned a lot of watches." Um,
Yeah.
I'd probably change some of it, but in a way, I'm glad it happened too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad it's not happening anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, you're progressing, right? You're
Like that
you're progressing on the
Cassiopeia the
journey.
other day, I was so tempted to buy they already, like, sold out that I don't know if you saw that watch, the 50th anniversary
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
sold out fast. I was thinking about it, and then I was like, "You know, eh, it's dumb. You're not gonna wear it much. You're gonna wear it, like, 1 or 2 days, and then you're eventually gonna sell it." Even though they'll probably go for above retail at on eBay or whatever, you're gonna take a loss on it. So because 'cause you're probably gonna scratch it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
let's just skip all that. You've owned digital Casios before. I was wearing a G-Shock at the time. Like, I'm able to now, like, realize, like, okay, you're tempted, but let's think about it, and then ultimately let's pass on it. Like, I've gotten way better at that. Not perfect, but better.
I think I'm getting better at it, at passing, but yeah, yeah, I think I'm getting better at it. But I mean, it's a struggle, man, because I feel like I don't have the patience to have that kind of discipline. Um, J Thor, I have numerous Helios in my collection, and I've never sold one in all these years. They're worth it, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, great.
Yep.
Great. There's look. Not all micros are the same, and Helios is definitely one of the better micro brands out there for sure, hands down. Maison saying I haven't succumbed to the micro brand fad. I have a short list of watches I want and stick to the broad plan to save for those pieces I really want. Man, I wish I could do that. Zen is the closest I got to a low cost Temptations. Oh, I love Zen. J Thor, Bobby, did you buy a new Zen 103? No, no, no. I did. I didn't buy the 103. I really do like. I like these
That's
103 limited
nice.
releases, man.
Yeah.
They're so good. Look, there's 1,000, right? So they're going to be around. They're going to be around.
Right.
So I'm not in any rush. I'm not really in a position to get anything new anyway in the foreseeable future. trying to be disciplined about it. There's one particular watch that I'm would like to pick up, eventually. So I need to be disciplined in regards to that. But that 103, I really like that 903. Still don't know what shockproof acrylic means, for because they have the
Yeah,
acrylic, but they call it a shock resistant or shockproof acrylic. Don't know what that means. But hey, whatever. It's all good. That watch looks great.
I liked your
Um,
video on those releases.
Thank you. Yeah,
I
yeah,
like I've been waiting. I love their hydro oil filled UX, but I've never gotten a chance to try one on. I was afraid of the size, and now that
yeah.
it's in the U50, there's another one. The other day I was like, oh, but I was like, no, I'll if I
I
want
wish they,
one when I'm ready to buy a watch, I'll be able to get one.
yeah, I wish they kept the
Yeah,
hands. I wish they
yeah,
with the U50 hands,
you're
man. I
like
mean,
the Lego hands.
I do. I think it's so it's like a signature. It's like their signature, like part of the signature design of the U50, right? So
Right. Yeah.
um don't get why they just didn't call these UX lights or whatever, or come up with a different name for that U2 or X2, whatever it is,
Right.
model. But no,
UX.
no, no. But other than that, I think they're really, really cool. People get bent out of shape about it being quartz, but like whatever. I mean, that's
Oh, yeah.
you
Well,
know,
that's why I love
yeah,
them.
yeah.
I mean, I think they're cool. One more thing about being a new man,
Mhm,
I think the reason I am is because I went 3 months plus 101 days in between purchases, and it was just nice to I researched the Citizen, I knew I wanted to buy, and it was like a stress-free I had the money, I didn't have to
mhm.
scramble to sell things. It was just nice to save money. So,
Yeah,
I don't know, I actually like that more. It makes the hobby we're supposed to enjoy this hobby. So anything I can do to make it not stressful, I'm gonna do so. It
agreed.
sucks to not buy stuff for a while, but I've like told myself I'm just not gonna buy anything until the beginning of summer, and it's like I'm just watching everybody living vicariously through others, but
Yeah,
I know ultimately I'm gonna be able to buy something that I really want. I'm not gonna be able to or I'm not gonna have to stress about it or sell something I don't really wanna sell to afford it.
yeah.
Now, there's a chance of me failing miserably, a pretty good chance. If I was
Always.
betting, I'd bet on it probably, but,
Yeah, yeah,
right now, it feels like the right thing I wanna do, so who knows?
yeah. No, I think you're on a good path. Hey, man, what do you got going on with the podcast? Anything?
Nothing,
Nothing. Yeah,
still
no, I
haven't
get it.
done one, thinking about it, I stew on ideas, but, no, haven't, I've just been super busy,
Mhm.
yeah, just,
No, I get that.
crazy busy and just it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
How about
no.
you?
Hey, just plugging away, doing the live stream on Tuesday nights and reviews and topic videos, trying to focus more on topic videos because I'm really honing.
Oh, hello? Did we lose you? Think we may have lost Bobby, but, I look forward to more
Yeah,
of his oh, are you there?
yeah,
Hello?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully, just keep plugging away. Hey, chat, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Really appreciate
It
it.
went longer than usual with
We
2
went
of
along with
you.
you with two. This is great. This is good. Well, we're back on our Sunday groove. I
Right,
think that's what
right.
helped.
Yeah,
And Clayton, again, thanks for co-hosting with me this evening.
yeah.
And everyone, have a great week. See you on Tuesday on the other channel for a live stream. Have a good night.
Good night.